Sri Ramakrishna was a great singer. Swami Vivekananda, great singer. And both of them said, for those who understand, music can be a path to the divine. Music can lead you directly to God if it is taken in that spirit and if it is practiced in that way. So music can be a way to the path of God. And that's why Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, you find now and then, even if you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you find again their songs are coming, again Sri Ramakrishna is talking, again songs are coming. So we have started with music, that's very good. You know, Sri Ramakrishna, when he got cancer, he was shifted to Kashipur Garden House in Calcutta, so that doctor could come, the devotees could come to meet, and a little better environment. Of course, Dakshineshwar environment was very good, but it was difficult because it was long distance. So they shifted him to Kashipur Garden House. And the youngsters like Narendranath, who later became Swami Vivekananda, they started serving him, nursing him. So one day Narendranath told Sri Ramakrishna, please do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to give, you give me. He said, you see, I am suffering like this and you are troubling me like this. He said, that is why I am troubling you. Because the doctors have said it is a very dangerous disease and you may not survive. So before you die, you must give me whatever you want to give. What a wonderful fellow, I am dying and he wants like this. Okay, you tell me, what do you want? Tell me, what do you want? So then Naren said, I want you make me so much spiritually developed that I remain immersed in samadhi, in superconscious state all the time. Now and then, I will just take some food to bring this mind to a conscious state. Again, I will go into superconscious state. So I want to remain immersed in samadhi like Shukdev. Just see, wonderful teacher, wonderful student. The student wants that he should remain immersed in samadhi, which is the highest state, according to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, that is the eighth limb. Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. The student wants to remain immersed in samadhi. The disciple wants to remain always in samadhi, in superconscious state. Any other teacher, any other guru, any other guide would have been so happy that my disciple wants to remain in highest state. But here is a wonderful guru, wonderful teachers. What? You are talking like a mean-minded person? You are so narrow-minded? I thought you will be like a big banyan tree under whose shelter thousands of people will take rest, will get peace of mind. And you are talking about your own salvation, about your own joy, of your own bliss of samadhi. Don't you sing that song? And then he referred to the song. In that song was a favorite song of Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda both. Whenever Naren would come, Naren, please sing some songs. Then he'll sing some song. Then he'll say, I'm going. No, not before you have sung that song. So he referred to that song. It is not you who sing that song. तुझसे हमने दिल को लगाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही. Oh Lord, wherever you are, thou art present. Is it not you who sing that song? There is a state higher than what you are speaking, that is superconscious state, then samadhi. And that song speaks of that stage. That is your goal. You have to not remain immersed in samadhi, but you have to work for the mankind, for humanity. He also a later date written in a piece of paper. Naren will teach the word. Then he said, I will not do. I want to remain immersed in samadhi. What your boss will do? He made him work, start this Ramakrishna mission, start so many service activities. Why? Because he wanted, Swami Sri Ramakrishna wanted his disciple not to remain limited only to the state of superconscious state or samadhi state, but he wanted even to let him go to the higher state, even than that. And that state is being narrated in that song. The beautiful song that was written by last Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was a Sufi saint. It is a Sufi song, but gives the message of whole of Vedanta. We are talking today on Vedanta in everyday life. This song gives the message of Vedanta in everyday life, the message of practical Vedanta. So the song is like this. I will also give you later on. It's very nice for us. Latest discovery has been made. Swami Vivekananda's best favorite song has been translated by Swami Vivekananda himself into English. And that has been recently discovered by Vandana Jani. She is from Vivekananda Vidyapeeth, New Jersey. She found out that song in the handwriting of Swami Vivekananda, where he has made a free translation of that song, and that gives the highest state and also the real Vedanta in practice, Vedanta in everyday life, the practical Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda said, what we want now is not Vedanta but practical Vedanta, which can be applied in everyday life for our own benefit and for the benefit of mankind. That is what we want, not theoretical Vedanta. So, this song gives the whole message of practical Vedanta. What is that song? तुझसे हमने दिल को लगाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. O Lord, I have given my heart to thee. Thou art present everywhere. तुझसे हमने दिल को लगाया. Some of you are from India, so you may be able to understand a little bit of Hindi. तुझसे हमने दिल को लगाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. Everywhere you are present. एक तुझको अपना पाया. I have found thee alone to be mine own. जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. You are present everywhere. सबके मकान दिल का मकीन तू. कौन सा दिल है जिसमें नहीं तू? हर एक दिल में तू ही समाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. You are present in everyone's heart. सबके मकान दिल का मकीन तू. You are present in everyone's heart. कौन सा दिल है जिसमें नहीं तू? There is not a single heart, not a single person where, oh Lord, you are not residing. सबके मकान दिल का मकीन तू. कौन सा दिल है जिसमें नहीं तू? हर एक दिल में तू ही समाया, जो कुछ है तू. In everybody's heart, oh Lord, you are present. Now this is a Sufi song but gives the message of Vedanta. What Vedanta says, that Lord is present in every human being. Says the Kathopanishad, Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudo atma na prakashate drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. Inside every human being, there is a center of consciousness called Atman. Sarveshu bhutes, and that is in each and every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. There is no bracket there. Sarveshu bhuteshu, every human being. Gudo Atma, that Atman is hiding there in every human heart. Na prakashate, it is not visible. If it is not visible, how do we believe? If it is not visible, how do we believe? What is documentary evidence? So, drishyate. What is the documentary evidence? Some people have seen it. Some people have seen it. You are not able to see, but some people have seen that Atman. They have realized that Atman. That is the proof. Drishyate. Who have seen? Drishyate tagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. Those who have given very, very subtle intellect, those who have wonderful intellect, a separate type of intellect, not IQ or EQ, but SQ, spiritual intelligence. Those who have got that spiritual intelligence, they only have realized this Atman. That is the documentary evidence. Swami Vivekananda, when he was young college student, he read Kant, Hegel, John Stuart Mill, Herbert Spencer, so many Western authors, and he became agnostic. Then, after reading all those books, he had this question in mind. They are all talking about God, but where is the evidence? And any saint would come to Calcutta. Calcutta at that time was the capital of British India. That was India, because of the British government. So anybody saint would come in, he'll just go, then the saint would talk about God. Yes, now enough of talk about God. Now, please reply my question. Have you seen God? Nobody could give satisfactory reply. But he was very eager to get this reply. He said, I am the son of an advocate, of a lawyer. I want documentary evidence. Have you seen God? You are talking about God, but have you seen God? What is the documentary evidence? Nobody could give reply. Then finally he went to Maharishi Devennath Tagore, the father of Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel Prize winner. Rabindranath Tagore's father was Maharishi Devennath Tagore, the founder of Brahmo Samaj. He heard that Devennath Tagore meditates on God too much, staying in a cabin, in a ship, in a boat which on Ganga river. So one day, he just entered the cabin of Maharishi Devennath Tagore. And then, when Devennath Tagore looked at him, he said, Sir, may I ask you a question? Yes. Sir, you are meditating too much, I heard. Sir, have you seen God? Maharishi Devennath Tagore looked at him for some time and said, My dear boy, your eyes are beautiful, those of a yogi. And he became very much disappointed. I don't want appreciation of my eyes. I want my answer. He was so much dissatisfied. One day he had gone to his college. The name of his college was Scottish Church College. Earlier name was General Assembly College, that became Scottish Church College. Even today, the name of that college is Scottish Church College. If you go to Calcutta, just near the ancestral house of Swami Vivekananda, it is there on the corner. So, that day what happened, he had gone to the college, the professor who was teaching English literature was absent. So, nowadays when the professor is absent, the students have a nice time, they will have holiday, but that time it was not so. The principal, Professor William Hastie, himself came to take the class of English literature. And he was teaching them the poem of Wordsworth. The name of the poem is The Excursion. And when the principal told that in that there is a description that the poet goes into a trance, into a superconscious state, samadhi state, while looking at that nature, then the students asked, Sir, is it possible that some human being can go into a trance, into samadhi state, in superconscious state? The principal said, yes, it is possible. I have seen a person who frequently goes into that trance, frequently goes to samadhi state. And if you want, you can also see him, because that person lives in Calcutta only. There is the temple of Goddess Kali, Dakshineshwar. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa gets into samadhi now and then. You can see him. So Narendra told, okay, now let me test this Babaji also. I have seen so many Babajis. Now let me test this one also. So immediately went to Dakshineshwar. And when he entered the room of Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on his small cot. There are two cots, as you know. The two cots are still there, as on today. The bigger cot where he slept, the smaller cot on which he sat down and spoke. The two cots are still there. So on the small cot, Sri Ramakrishna was sitting and talking to the devotees. Devotees were sitting on the floor. So Narendranath sat down on the floor. After some time, now enough of talks about God. Now answer my question. Have you seen God? And for the first time he received a satisfactory reply. Yes, my boy. I have seen him. Then he said, I am seeing him more intensely than I am seeing you. And then he said, if you want, you also can see him, but you will have to undergo spiritual practices. That is the science of religion. Science says H2 plus O2 is equal to H2, hydrogen, oxygen, gas will give water. What? Hydrogen is a gas, oxygen gas is a gas. How can it get water? It's not a question of believing. Just come to the laboratory, have hydrolytic process, and if you don't get water, then you say, I don't believe. So Sri Ramakrishna says, I have seen God, you also can see, but you have to come to the laboratory of spiritual practices. And Narendranath accepted the challenge. Yes. And when he practiced that, he himself had that super conscious state, Samadhi state in Kashipur garden house. And because he had seen God face to face, that is why in the Parliament of World Religion, the first Parliament of World Religion in Chicago in 1893, he could declare, he could utter that shloka from the Shveta Upanishad with that authority. Shunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastuhu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Tameva Viditva Timritameti Nanya Pantha Viditayanaya. I have found the Ancient One who is beyond all miseries. By knowing Him alone, she shall be free from all miseries. This he could say because he had seen God face to face, because he had realized that state. But before that, he had to undergo spiritual practices as enjoined by Sri Ramakrishna. So, this is the documentary evidence. Drishyate tvagraya buddhya shukshmaya shukshmadarshibihi. That is what Kathopanishad said. Inside every human being, there is a center of consciousness called Atman. And the nature of that Atman is Satchit Ananda, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. And Bhagavad Gita also says, Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. Shri Krishna says, Arjun, Ishvara sarvabhutanam. Lord is present in everybody's heart. Ishvara sarvabhutanam. Riddeshe Arjuna tishtati. Resides in everybody's heart, every human being's heart, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. He resides in everybody's heart. And what does he do? Like a machine operator, he's just going on running the machine. Machine means, like a machine, he rules, he directs all the activities of a human being. Ishvara sarvabhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudhani mayaya. By his maya, like a machine operator running a machine, by his maya, he revolves, he makes all the people work. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata. Go and surrender to him. Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata. Tat prasadat param shanti sthanam prapsasi shashvatam. You will get infinite happiness and bliss by taking surrender. By surrendering yourself to that ultimate reality which is present in each and everybody's heart. So this song gives the same thing, though it is a Sufi saying. सबके मकान दिल का मकीन तू, कौन सा दिल है जिसमें नहीं तू, हर एक दिल में तू ही समाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही. And then second, क्या मलायक, क्या इंसान, क्या हिंदू, क्या मुसलमान, जैसा चाहा तूने बनाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. Inside each and every human being irrespective of what caste or what creed or what religion he belongs to, each and every human being, O Lord, you are present in each and every human being. क्या मलायक, क्या इंसान, क्या हिंदू, क्या मुसलमान, जैसा चाहा तूने बनाया. You have made them as you like. जो कुछ है सब तू ही. So, this is nothing but the reflection of the shloka from the Shvetar Upanishad. Tvam stri, tvam pumanasi, tvam kumar utva kumari, tvam jirno dandena vanchasi, tvam jato bhavashi vishvato mukha. O Lord, tvam stri, you are the woman. Tvam pumanasi, you are the man. You are the woman, you are the man, you are the young woman, you are the young man. Tvam kumar utva kumari, tvam jirno dandena vanchasi. You are the old man tottering with his stick. O Lord, you are present in each and every human being. Whether you are a man or a woman, whether you are Muslim or a Hindu, each and every human being, you are, O Lord, you are present. That is the message of that song. Then, Kaaba में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जां, सभी ने तुझको सिर है झुकाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. O Lord, you are present in Kaaba. Kaaba is for the Muslims, the sacred place. Deval, temple for the Hindus. Kaaba में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जां. You are being nurtured everywhere. You are being worshipped everywhere. Whether temple, churches, mosque, it is you who are being worshipped. Names are different. काबा में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जा, सभी ने तुझको सिर है झुकाया. All people have bowed down to you. You are present everywhere. This is the message of Vedas, the books of the eternal religion, Vedas. You know, Vedanta is nothing but the last portion of Veda. Ved Anta. Anta means end. Veda means Vedas are the repository of knowledge. To vid. Vid is a sort of verb, to know. From vid has come Veda. That is the treasury of knowledge, the treasure of knowledge. That is called Vedas. There are four, they have been divided into four. And the end portion of all these Vedas are the Upanishads, which speak of the philosophical part. So that is Vedanta is the philosophical part of Vedas. So in the Vedas also you get a sentence, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. The truth is one, sages call it by different names. This is what is being told here. It is the one truth being told in different ways. The names are different, but the truth is one. The ultimate destination is one. The paths may be different. This was told in the scriptures, in Vedanta, in Vedas, and this has been in our own times verified and demonstrated by Sri Ramakrishna in the laboratory of his life. Sri Ramakrishna practiced various types of spiritual practices under Sanatana Dharma, under Hinduism. He had the vision of Mother Kali, goddess Kali. He had the vision of Krishna. He had the vision of Rama. He also practiced Tantra. Then he practiced Advaita Vedanta under Totapuri. And for 6 months he remained in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And after that, in 1866, he practiced Islam. And when he was practicing Islam, Quran used to be read out to him. There was a mosque near the Dakshineshwar temple. He would spend most of his time in the mosque. Religiously, he would pray 5 times. He would do namaz 5 times. He would dress like a Muslim. He removed all the photographs of all the gods and goddesses from his room because he is a Muslim now. And he also wanted to take the food also like that. Then Mathur Babu intervened and said, no, not like that. But we will prepare a Muslim food for you, but not exactly like Muslim food. But he took food also separately And when after he finished his practices according to Islam, he had the vision of a bearded man, what we can say Prophet Muhammad, partaking his food with others, and Sri Ramakrishna also partook from the same plate. Then in 1873, he had started reading. He did not read himself, but Shambhucharan Malik was a devotee, so he used to read out to him Bible. And during that time, when he was reading Bible every day religiously, he had gone to Jadu Malli's garden house, which is just near Dakshineshwar temple. There was a photograph of Madonna carrying her small baby Christ, and Sri Ramakrishna looked at photograph, and that photograph became live, and some rays emanated from that photograph and entered into his heart, and he became unconscious. He went to superconscious state. After that, when he came to the conscious state, he went back to Dakshineshwar. Just after that incident, at a very short time, within a day or two, when he was walking under Panchvati tree, he saw a tall man is coming from that side, and fair complexion, tall man is coming near, and he was trying to see who is he. Oh, then somebody told from his heart, he is the same person who sacrificed his life for serving the humanity, Jesus Christ. And just now when he was thinking like that, Jesus Christ came and embraced him and entered into him and disappeared. Likewise, he practiced various religions. He used to keep an image of Lord Mahavir. The Jains follow him, Mahavir Tirthankar. That image was there, is still there. That Mahavir Tirthankar image is there. Now it has been moved from Sri Ramakrishna's room to Radhakant temple. Then there was an image of Lord Buddha also, and he used to discuss about the teachings of Buddha with the disciples. He used to discuss the teachings of Guru Nanak, Sikh religion, with the soldiers who were working in the nearby magazine factory. Likewise, he collected knowledge of all the religions, and he practiced various religions. Then he came to the conclusion that supernatural experience that he had at the end of at the culmination of each and every faith was the same. So he conclusively proved that ultimately the destination is the same. So he said, as many faiths, so many paths. Joto mat, toto path. As many faiths, so many paths. Paths are different and faiths are different. Ultimate destination is one. And he used to give a beautiful simile. There is a pond of water. From one side, the Hindu goes and says, I have brought jal. From second side, the Muslim says, no, I have brought pani. From third side, the Christian goes, no, I have brought water. And from the fourth side, the fourth one goes, no, I have brought aqua. Why are you fighting? It is the same thing. Jal, pani, water, aqua. If you ask the scientists, they will say it is H2O. Name whatever you may give. It is H2O. Names are different, but ultimately it is H2O. Similarly, there is one supreme reality beyond time, space and causation and permeating the whole universe. That unity may be called Brahman, that may be called Ishvara, may be called God, may be called Allah. Depends upon you, how you call. Names are different, but reality is one. This was proved by Sri Ramakrishna in the laboratory of his life. That is why the God of all, Claude Allen Stark has written a book, the name of the book is God of All, where he says the biggest problem of the humanity today is plurality of faiths. So many faiths are there and they are in collision with each other. So unless until we have this solution to this plurality of faith and we have harmony of faiths, till that time we will not have global peace. But how to do that? If we say that all the faiths, this multi-faith, all the various types of faiths are not contradictory to each other and they lead to the same goal, the modern man will not believe. But if one person takes up the spiritual practices according to each and every faith, major faith, and proves in his own laboratory of his own life that ultimately he is reaching the same goal, then only the modern man will believe. And then he says, fortunately, such a man was born, and he did it. He practiced spiritual, he carried out spiritual practices according to various faiths in his own life, and proved that ultimately the destination is one. But unfortunately, we are unaware about him. That is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. So Sri Ramakrishna has given the solution to that. The same thing has been told here. काबा में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जान, सभी ने तुझको सिर है झुकाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. Then next stanza. अर्श से लेकर फर्श जमी तक और जमी से अर्श बरी तक, जहां मैं देखा तू ही नजर आया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. From heaven to the earth and from earth to the heaven, wherever I saw, O Lord, you are present. What a wonderful thing. This is what is told in the Upanishads. Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjitha ma grida kasa siddhanam. Ishavasya sarvam. That Lord is present, is permeating the whole universe. Ishavasya midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Permeating the whole universe. This Lord has permeated the whole universe. So, that is why tena taktena bhunjita. That is why enjoy this word by renunciation. Ma agrida kasasiddhanam. Do not covet others' wealth. So this Ishavasya midam sarvam khalu idam brahma. That is the message of the Upanishads. The same Brahman is present everywhere, is permeating the whole universe. Just imagine what Swami Vivekananda said in the Parliament of Religions, that the latest discoveries of modern science seems like echo from the teaching that is given in the Vedanta. Just imagine, now the modern quantum mechanics has proved beyond doubt that it is a holistic universe. Bell's theorem states that all the particles of the whole universe are interconnected at a deeper level. David Bohm, a Nobel Prize physicist, has experimentally verified it. Yes, it is a holistic universe. And that is why Schrödinger says, consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. Consciousness is singular of which the plural is unknown. It is one consciousness. One consciousness permeating the whole world, the whole universe. So that is what is given here. अर्श से लेकर फर्श जमी तक और जमी से अर्श बरी तक, जहां मैं देखा तू ही नजर आया, जो कुछ है सुधी. Everywhere, O Lord, you are present. And last, सोचा समझा देखा भाला, तुझ जैसा न कोई ढूंढ निकाला, अब यह समझ में जफर की आया, जो कुछ है सुधी. Oh Lord, I have tried to find out everywhere, so much I have attempted to find out in various places. At long last you will find that you are the person to whom I should give my heart. Socha, samajha, dekha, bhala, so many places I have tried. Ultimately I discovered that you are the person to whom the heart should be given. Socha, samajha, dekha, bhala, तुझ जैसा न कोई देख न ढूंढ निकाला. I could not discover a person equal to you, O Lord. So that is why I give my heart to thee. जो कुछ है सो तू ही. You are present, O Lord, in everybody's area. What a wonderful message. All of us want love. We want to give love. We want to receive love. That is human nature. How much love? I ask the youngsters, how much love you want? 50 kg or 100 kg? 100 kg. 100 kg or 500 kg? 500 kg. How much love you will receive, then we'll say no more. No. We want unlimited love. What we want to receive is unlimited love. But it is not available. In the actual life, what happens? Why the divorces are taking place in America so much? Lawyers have a very good time nowadays. Because so many divorces. And why divorces taking place? I have given you 100 kg love, you have given me 99 kg only. So divorce. But what we really want is unlimited love, infinite love. And that cannot be obtained. So Swami Vivekananda says in his book, Religion of Love, there cannot be an infinite love between two finite realities changing all the time. Their moods also changing all the time and both going towards death. There can be an infinite love between infinite Atman and infinite Paramatman, between the soul and the God. That only can give us the real satisfactory love. So that love toward the divinity, that is called bhakti. That is called real love, bhakti. So bhakti yoga, whatever it is. So this song gives the message of not only harmony of religions, but also the message of practical Vedanta. That this universal principle is permeating the whole world, is present in each and everything. And this is the message for which Swami Vivekananda came to this world. This is the message which is most important for the human beings, modern man. Why? Because of the present circumstances where all of us are not able to go to the Himalayas or go to the forest. We have to work, and not only that, we have to work to earn our bread. Sri Ramakrishna says in Kali Yuga, this is the Kali Yuga, Iron Age, Annagat Prana. Our bodies, they want food. We cannot remain without food. We want amenities. We cannot do austerities like like the olden times. Under these circumstances, when we have to work, it is at this stage the work has to be converted to worship. And the key has been given here in this Vedanta. This principle of Vedanta. What is Vedanta? As I told you, it is the end part of Vedas. And this is nothing but Upanishads. And if you find out the gist of the Upanishads, Swami Vivekananda himself told two basic principles emanating from the Vedanta. What are the two basic principles? Number one, divinity of the soul, and second, solidarity of the whole universe. Divinity of the soul. Inside each and every human being, there is the divinity. That is the message Swami Vivekananda gave in the Parliament of World's Religion. When he quoted Srunavanti Vishve Amrita Saputra, and then he said, let me, brothers and sisters of America, let me call you by this sweet name, Amrita Saputra. You are the children of immortal bliss. You are not sinners. He gave he gave the nectar of Vedanta. Not only to the Chicago Parliament religions, but he went on to give this nectar of Vedanta for 3 more years in America. That is why Linnaeus Stark says, in America, our youths are now suffering so much of suicide, so many schizophrenia, drug addiction and all that, because we have not opened the gift box that was given by Swami Vivekananda. The gift remains unopened. Swami Vivekananda gave the nectar of Vedanta, gave the message in the harmony of the 4 yogas. Everything he gave. He gave here, not in India. There in India he said, arise awake, arise awake. Because he said they were sleeping. First of all, they arise awake, then only the message can be given. Here at least Americans were awake and just going materialistically mad after pleasures. At least they are awake. So, but there they are sleeping. So first of all, arise awake. In India he said. But in America he gave all the 4 yogas. He gave the gift box, but gift remains unopened. So Linnaeus Stark said that Columbus discovered the soil of America, but Vivekananda discovered the soul of America. And he discovered the soul, he found out the people are suffering because too much materialistic, too much of consumerism. And now in the modern language, affluenza. Dictionary. Oxford Dictionary has written another word. In America, the parents have started affiliates the resistance society also. Swami Vivekananda knew this, and so he gave the solution, nectar of Vedanta, and he said, Amrita se putra, let me call you by this sweet name. Ye, the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings, ye, divinities and us sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing liable on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your souls immortal, spirits free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is the servant, not ye the servant of matter. He gave the story of the lion and the sheep. Do you know that story? You know that story? You know that story? No?
A little.
You know the story of the lion and the sheep?
A little.
Huh?
A little.
Little. Okay, I will tell you the full. You want to listen? Yeah. So, in honor of this child, I will give a story. So there was a lioness. This is Swami Vivekananda's favorite story and gives the gist of whole of Vedanta. Just remember this story. Anybody, anytime, any tension coming. Nowadays it's the age of tension. Mental tension will come, problems will come, any challenges will come. Just remember this story. One story enough. Remember the story. Problem solved. What is the story? The story is a lioness was going along a forest, and then a flock of sheep were going in a path. So in order to cross this flock of sheep, the lioness jumped. When it was jumping, it was pregnant. So she gave birth to a small cub. And then she fell down on the other side and died on the spot. Now this small cub fell into the flock of sheep. And this small cub started weeping because it had lost its mother. So the mother of the sheep became very compassionate, started taking care of the small cub, and this small lion started going along with the sheep. It was playing with the sheep, going with the sheep, eating grass like the sheep, and bleating like the sheep, bam, bam. And it was growing. After a long time, one lion came to the forest. And he saw at a great distance, so many sheep were going, flock of sheep going, and all bleating, bam, bam, bam. At the end, there was a small lion. It was also bleating, bam, bam. Huh? This big lion thought, what? He had never heard any lion bleating like this. So he became very curious. He came near in order to see what it is all about. And when it came nearer, all the sheep became so much afraid. Bah, 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 bah. They started running. And that small lion also, bah, 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 started running. Then the big lion caught up. Hey, where are you going? Why are you afraid of me? These sheep are they afraid of me because they are sheep and I am lion. But you are lion like me. Why are you afraid of me? The small lion became terrified after getting caught. Bah, bah, bah. I am not lion, I am sheep. You fool! You are lion and still you are telling cub. You are sheep? No, you are lion. The small lion started more bleating. Bah, bah, bah. I am not lion. I am not lion. Now this big lion got very much annoyed. Caught hold of it. Dragged it near a pond. Look at this water. Look at the pond. Your face resembles that of mine or that of the sheep. Just look. And the small lion looked. Huh? My face is that of a lion. Yes, now remember? Now you understand? You are a lion. Now give up this bleating. Roar like me. Started roaring. Yes, come. Now you are the king of the forest. He became king of the forest. This is the story. And after telling this story, Swami Vivekananda asked this question. Why this lion, small lion cub was weeping? Why it was bleating? Why? Because it forgot that I am a lion. This is the story of all of us. Inside every one of us, each of us, there is an Atman having infinite power, unlimited power, Satchit Ananda. infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite power. Infinite power, unlimited power of the Atman is residing in each and every human being. And yet we are always letting, I am very weak, I cannot, at the time of examination I get very much tension, and I cannot play like this, I cannot go on this, I am very weak, I cannot do this. Oh, such a big problem has come on, bam, bam, bam. We start weeping. We start weeping. Why? Because we forgot that there is the Atman within, having infinite power. So, Swami Vivekananda says, always remember, you are the ever pure, ever blissful Atman. Whenever any calamity comes, just sit down, meditate. Try to look at the reflection. What is that looking at the reflection means? Meditation. Swami Vivekananda will come and say, hey, you are Atman. You are all powerful. You have got infinite power. No, I don't have any power. I am weak, No, you are not weak. You are all powerful. No, I am not powerful. Then what Swami Vivekananda says, okay, come and meditate. Meditate and see within your heart there is the Atman having infinite power. So meditation is the path. One path which leads you. One is repeating again and again, I am lion, I am not the sheep. That is Gyan Yoga. Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham. That is Gyan Yoga. Second is Raj Yoga. That is meditation. Look at your reflection. When you realize that yes, you are that infinite, beyond time, space and causation, having unlimited power, then this weakness will go. Then this weeping will go. So Swami Vivekananda says, if you find one word coming like a bomb from the Upanishads, that is the one word, Abhi, Abhi, Abhi. Be fearless, be fearless, be fearless. That is practical Vedanta. There are so many courses now going on stress management. You know, Chicago West Research Corporation says 40% of the companies are having regular courses on stress management. But there are so many methods they are suggesting on stress management, but they are not working. You know what are the methods they suggest? The modern psychologists say, Western psychologists say, you know why this stress is coming? Because when you do not express your feelings, these feelings go into your heart and then they go inside your subconscious mind and then they become, that becomes complexes and that gives you stress and that gives you strain later on and that results in strain. So what you should do? You should express your feelings. My God, if I express my feelings, I will lose my job. Because my boss had a quarrel with his wife when he was coming out. He could not tell anything to his wife. So he comes and just fires me left and right. And I want to pay back in the same coin. I know also how to pay back in the same coin. But if I pay back in the same coin, I will lose my job. So I do not articulate my feelings. They go inside my heart, they go inside my subconscious mind. Then they create stress and that creates strains. No, you should express your feelings. My God, then I will lose my job. Don't worry, we have got a solution. What is the solution? There is a Western method of stress management. Go to the market. Purchase voodoo dolls. Voodoo dolls are available. Hate diaries are available. Punching bags are available. And along with this voodoo dolls, you will get pins also. Bring them home. Close the doors and windows of your room. Put the voodoo doll on the table. Write down the name of your boss or your mother-in-law or your wife, whomsoever you want to put stress on. And then there are pins available, blue pins for injury, black pins for serious injury. And if you want to murder your boss, then the red pins are available. Just give a red pin and the boss is murdered. And you have a nice sleep without tranquilizers. But unfortunately, problem is that next day the boss is sitting in the chair, what to do? So these are all temporary solutions. Western methods of stress management. That is why Vedanta, yoga, meditation, they are taking up for stress management. not for God realization. Anyway, they will come later on. Most of the people are coming for yoga and meditation for mental peace, for stress management, not for enlightenment. Doesn't matter. At least they have come. Gradually they will get enlightened. They will know, understand what is true yoga. True yoga is not just yogasana. Yoga is union between the Supreme Self and the individual self. They will come later on. Let them start. At least something has been started. At least they have become mad after yoga. Now about 20 million people in America are regularly having meditation on yoga. That's very good, according to Time magazine. Very good. And now in India also it's coming because we like imported, so now we will import meditation and yoga from America. So far we were teaching, nobody was coming. But now that the Americans have started, so in their schools we cannot do meditation and yoga. It is against, secularism. So, because ours is a secular country, we cannot teach Vedanta, we cannot teach Gita, we cannot teach meditation, yoga, nothing. Because it's a secular country. So, now gradually when all the countries, already 178 countries out of 198 countries voted in the United Nations General Assembly on 25th September 2014, the Prime Minister of India put the proposal that 21st June should be celebrated as International Yoga Day. And within 3 months it was passed. On 11th of December 2014, United Nations General Assembly passed the resolution of the Prime Minister of India that 21st June should be declared as the International Yoga Day unanimously. Out of 198 countries, 178 countries were present. All the countries said, yes, it should be there. Now, because this has been done, gradually, at least one day, in India also they are doing yoga. At least on International Yoga Day. That also wherever there is a government of that BJP government in that same states. Whatever it is, gradually this thing is coming. But this is practical Vedanta. Practical Vedanta gives you happiness and peace in everyday life. It gives you eternal happiness and peace also. It relieves you of stress. It relieves you of strain. That is the practical part of Vedanta. This Vedanta is needed. Ultimately, we want to reach that Brahman. That is our ultimate reality. That is the ultimate aim of life. But when we are trying to do that, everyday life also we will get happiness and peace. That is the practical part of it. So this practical part has to be now stressed. Vedanta in everyday life. That is to be preached and that is to be practiced. So Sister Nivedita, during her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, now it is in 9 volumes, but previously it started with 4 volumes, then 8 volumes. Now the 9th volume has come. But in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita gives a beautiful introduction where she says that if one and many indeed with the same reality, it is not only all modes of worship becomes worship, but all the types of work also becomes worship. Because it is one and the same reality. One and many are not different. It is the one universal principle permeating the whole world. And so Swami Sister Nivedita says, this is the realization which makes Vivekananda the great preacher of karma. Not as divorced from, but as expressing jnana and bhakti. To him the workshop, the farmyard, the laboratory are as true and fit scenes for meeting God with man as the door of a temple or the cell of a monk. No difference henceforth between sacred and secular. To work is to worship, to labor is to pray, to renounce is to conquer. This is the greatest contribution of Swami Vivekananda to the modern age. Where modern man, while doing work, while earning his bread, while going to the job, doing all sorts of activities, leading a householder's life, and yet can attain to happiness and peace in everyday life, and can attain to the eternal happiness and peace, and get that ultimate objective of Vedanta, and practice this Vedanta in everyday life. This is the door that has been opened by Swami Vivekananda. He was asked this question by his guru, by his brother disciples. What new thing you are told? Everything Everything is, whatever you told is nothing, everything is in Upanishad. I have quoted nothing but Upanishad, Swami Vivekananda himself says. Yes, you quoted nothing but Vedanta, you quoted nothing but Upanishads. That's what the brother said. Then Swami Vivekananda said, yes, that is true. I have quoted nothing but Upanishads. But this is my special contribution, which was not done earlier, because it was not at that time needed. At this time is needed. And then he said, Shankaracharya revived all the Upanishads. You know, he wrote on 20 Upanishads, good commentaries, great commentaries. Great. These are great commentaries. Shankaracharya almost revived that Sanatana Dharma. He did a great, marvelous job by writing commentaries, giving the explanation of all the shlokas. Wonderful work he did. But, Swami Vivekananda says, he kept this Vedanta in the ashramas, in the forest, in the Himalayas. I was born to bring this Vedanta to each and every man, to the scientists, to the teachers, to the students, to the fisherman, to the laboratory, to the workshop, to the offices. Everywhere this Vedanta has to penetrate. My job, this is why I was born. This is a special contribution of Swami Vivekananda for the modern man, practical Vedanta. And he answered this question also when he was asked this question in America. You are boasting too much about your Indian culture and spiritual culture. But why then your country is so much backward? Then he said, yes, our culture is great. The Upanishads are great. The principles that are great. As long we are practicing those principles, India was on the top of the world. You find out the history. India was on the top of the world in every field. Economics, it was called Sone ki Chidiya. The bird of the golden bird, it was called. And people used to come from all over the world. In fact, Colombo started for India only 400 years back because it was full of gold. But he landed up in America, and that is how America was discovered. So America should be grateful to India. Because India was there, so America is there. He went in search of India only, Columbus, 400 years back. Now it is 500. When 400 years over, that time only this Columbian exposition was done. As a part of that, this World Parliament of Religions was done. Whatever it is. But this India was great as long as, in every field, medical, science, mathematics, geometry, and arts, culture, music. Not a single field in which India was not on top of the world. But then, when we stopped practicing these principles in our daily life, that is how the degradation came. Particularly the two sins that we have committed, two national sins, he said, the neglect of the masses and atrocities on women. This is the great blot on our country, and we must make it up by practicing Vedanta once again, by having this Vedanta in everyday life. And that says, you must have equal respect towards man and women. This is Vedanta. So women empowerment and development and all those things, Swami Vivekananda told. And that's why he said, without women development, a nation cannot prosper, just as a bird cannot fly in one wing. And that is why he started the school for the girls, because only women education can give women development. He wanted to, and then he said, he himself took up the job. He said, if my brother disciples say my job will be to clean the latrines of Belur Math. So he bridged this gap. And he said, always giving respect to the poor, to the underprivileged. He said, my life is for that, and I want not only this life, I want to be born again. Just remember, what a wonderful letter Swami Vivekananda wrote to Miss Mary Hall. There are many inspiring letters. Some of the inspiring letters are addressed to Miss Mary Hall. One of the most inspiring letters that he ever wrote was on 9 July 1897 from Almora, where he says, my dear Mary, I had to talk a lot about myself because I owed that to you. Now I feel my task is done. At the most 3 or 4 years of life is left behind. I never wanted earthly enjoyments. I have lost all wish for my salvation. I must see my machine in strong working order, and knowing for sure that I have put in a lever for the good of humanity which no power can yet drive back, at least in India, I will sleep without caring what will be next. And may I be born again and again and suffer thousands of miseries so that I may worship the only God that exists, the only God that I believe in, the sum total of all souls, and above all, my God the wicked, my God the miserable, my God the poor of all races of all species, is the special object of my worship. This is practical Vedanta. If you really feel equality for all, it is the same Atman present in everybody, then why not worship them first? Why not serve them first? He says, Swami Vivekananda says, there is a beautiful river going nearby and you want to dig a well there. You want to worship God in temples, churches, mosques, where the living God is present here. Worship the living God. There you have to do Pran Pratishtha for the image. Here is the Pran Pratishtha already there. It's a living God. Why not worship this living God first? So he advocated worship of God in man. He said, so far you heard the mantras, Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. I am giving some additional mantras which are more important for the modern age. What is that? Daridra Devo Bhava, Rogi Devo Bhava. Yes, God is present in father, mother, in the teacher, in the guest, but God is present in every human being. God is present in the poor, in the sick person. Why not serve them? You will get, it is a double benefit. You know, nowadays people want, what is the profit? First thing, ask, what is the profit? What will the profit? What is the benefit? First thing. So it's double profit. Double profit. When we carried out this, there was earthquake on 26 January 2001. So we went for this relief work. So we went to the villages. Then the villagers said, oh, you have come to serve us. There must be some selfish interest. Because without selfish interest, nobody comes for serving us in the village. I said, yes, we have come with a selfish purpose. Not unselfish. It is not for unselfish service we are coming. We have come with a selfish motive. Then the head of the villages was there. At least this Swami is good because he is speaking the truth. Other people, they say we have come to serve you unselfishly, and then they do all sorts of things. So they say, at least he is telling that. But you listen, I said, what is our selfish interest? We the monks have left our hearth and home, have sacrificed our lives. Why? Because we want to realize God quicker. And Sri Ramakrishna said, if you want to realize God quicker, then you worship God in man. Shiva Jnane Jeev Seva. If you worship God in man, you will be getting the God vision quicker. And because we want quicker, that is why we have come to serve you. Not for yourself, for our own sake we have come. That is our selfish interest. That by serving God in you, we will get God realization. It is with this selfish interest that we have come to you. Then they were very happy. Then we carried out the relief work. But this is really the thing. It is Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitayacha. That is the ideal that is given by Swami Vivekananda. That is, we do Jagadhitayacha. Why? Why do we serve humanity? For our own salvation. And this salvation can be done also without serving humanity. You can do it by meditation, by other methods. But here it is a double profit. The person who is serving, of course, gets God realization. But the person to whom the service is being offered gets food. So double benefit, double profit. This is the service of God in man. This service to humanity, that was preached by Swami Vivekananda for the modern man. And he did not limit it there. He wanted demonstration model. So he started Ramakrishna Mission. And he made it mandatory. Any monk coming to join the Ramakrishna Mission has to combine all the 4 yogas, about which we have been talking later. But most important job will be service to humanity. So that is why Ramakrishna Mission we have 14 indoor hospitals, 90 outdoor hospitals. Total 10 millions of people are being served every year. There are 200 branches of Ramakrishna Mission spread all over the world. 50 are outside India, 150 inside India. What I am talking about, most of the service activities are done inside India. In America or other countries, we have Vedanta societies, the name of Vedanta societies, where we have retreat like this, or we have spiritual and cultural activities more. Because here you have got enough of food, what you want is peace of mind. But there, the people do not have food also, and clothes also. So there we have other types of services. So service activities, 14 indoor hospitals, 90 outdoor hospitals. Then we have 6,000 education institutions, 600,000 students are studying there. We give them not only best possible education, academic, but at the same time, this man-making education, value-oriented education. Then we have tribal development projects, very big tribal and rural development projects. All this, why? To implement this message of practical Vedanta. So when you serve others, it is doing double benefit. To whom you are serving, that person also gets benefit. And the person who is serving also gets that Atmana Mokshartam, that God realization, that ultimate reality, that infinite happiness and bliss. So this message of practical Vedanta has to be remembered. It has got a strong foundation. Swami Vivekananda did not come and start this Ramakrishna mission, but for Sri Ramakrishna. It is Sri Ramakrishna who told the higher state than this Samadhi state is this, seeing divinity in all. And that is why Swami Vivekananda had to start Ramakrishna mission as a demonstration model for preaching this message of Vedanta, of service to humanity. This has become, and this is practical Vedanta. When I was traveling from Rajkot to Porbandar, I had invited Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. That time he had not yet become the President of India, but he was Bharat Ratna. But I heard that he is preaching, he is going and meeting with youth. And I thought that he is doing the work of Swami Vivekananda, because Swami Vivekananda also wanted youth to be addressed. So then I invited him, and we were traveling from Rajkot to Porbandar. He was coming for inaugurating one of the 81 school buildings we have considered as a part of earthquake rehabilitation project in Gujarat, and 6 colonies. So one of the schools was inaugurated by him. And then was traveling, he said, please tell something about Swami Vivekananda. And I told something about Swami Vivekananda. Then he said something about Sri Ramakrishna. And I told about him. Then tell something about Sarada Devi. Like that, everything. And then we reached, our car reached within 3 hours we reached Porbandar. Then he went to the room where Swami Vivekananda stayed in Porbandar. You know, there are about 15 places in the whole world where Swami Vivekananda stayed have been converted into memorials. One of them is here. We are so blessed to sit here. This is the place. Of course, you will be those who have come for the first time, you will be told all these details. This is the great place. That is why this is my 5th visit to this place. When 2010, and this is my 4th visit to America and 5th visit to this Ridgely Manor. First visit I came twice. I started my tour with Ridgely, ended with Ridgely. And then again, that was in 2010, 2013, 2015. And here also, I am just now at the fag end of my journey. I came for basically for Parliament of World Religion. Toronto 127 number, and from there to Houston and Boston and Chicago and St. Louis, and I have come to New York, and this is the last end of journey. But why I am coming here again? Because this is a rare place, one of the 15 rare places where Swami Vivekananda stayed have been converted into memorials. One is this one. In America there are 3. South Pasadena also. Please correct me if there is a need. South Pasadena and also Thousand Island Park. These are 3 places where Swami Vivekananda stayed. There are many other places where Swami Vivekananda stayed, but have not been converted into memorials where people could go and meditate and all that. 12 in India, out of which, of course, in the headquarters we have Swamiji's room and the building where Swamiji was born, in Swami Vivekananda's ancestral place in Kolkata. And then Kanyakumari. Then there is Ice House in Madras, Khetri, Rajasthan, and 3 in Gujarat. One in Porbandar, the historic Bhojeshwar Bungalow where Swami Vivekananda stayed as the guest of the then administrator Shankar Pandit. For 4 months he stayed there. He learnt French there. It is there, in fact, It is while going from Junagadh to Porbandar that at Jitalsar railway station, the assistant station master, Hargovind Das Ajramar Pandya, was the assistant station master who for the first time told him about the World Parliamentary Religion that was going to be held in Chicago. That news he got first was in Gujarat. And in Porbandar, it was Shankar Parmanu Pandit who suggested, Swamiji, nobody will understand your genius here, you ought to go to the West. And when you go to the West, you will need to know French. So I will teach you French. So Swamiji learnt French there because Shankar Parmanu Pandit knew many languages. And why Swamiji stayed for more than 4 months was the only reason was he fell in love with the library. There's a big library, huge library of Shankar Parmanu Pandit, and he helped Shankar Parmanu Pandit in translating Atharvaveda. He deepened his knowledge of Sanskrit scriptures and other books. In fact, all the bombs that he threw in America, in the Chicago Parliament religions and afterwards, bombs of non-violence, of universal brotherhood, the thought bombs, all that were prepared in Porbandar. There he deepened his knowledge from the library. He got all the books and he read and all that. He deepened his knowledge there in Gujarat. So Porbandar, there is the room in which Swami Vivekananda stayed has been converted into memorial. 12 January 1997, we got that bungalow from government of Gujarat. It has been converted to memorial. Anybody can visit and go and meditate in the room where Swamiji stayed. Then the historic Dilaram bungalow, where Swami Vivekananda stayed as the guest of the then Diwan Manibhai Jasbhai, was handed over by the government of Gujarat. Sri Narendra Modi, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, now the Prime Minister of India, came himself, personally handed over the bungalow to us on 18th April 2005. That is also converted in memorial. And Limdi, the palace in which Swamiji stayed, the Rajmata handed over that bungalow to us. Like that, there are 3 memorials in Gujarat. So when Dr. Kalam meditated there, he went into deep meditation. Then we had to shake him because he did not listen to us. He said, Dr. Kalam is getting late, 3,000 students waiting for you. And we had to shake. Then he said, later on he wrote in his book that at Porbandar at Rajkot, while meditating in the temple of Sri Ramakrishna at Rajkot, I was lost in meditation. He did not use the word samadhi. But in Calcutta, he said, when I was in Porbandar and Rajkot, for the first time I came to know that, had the first-hand experience that time becomes indeterminate. This is the word he used. Time becomes indeterminate. He was lost in meditation. Anyway, so then again he inaugurated the school. Then he went to Mahatma Gandhi's birthplace, came and took lunch with us. Then he went to Prasla, for which he had come. After that, he went to Rajkot to take a flight to Bombay on to Chennai, Madras, where he was teaching at the Anna University. It so happened that I had also took the flight the same evening from Rajkot to Bombay on to Benares for the centenary celebration. Seeing me in the aircraft, Dr. Khan, Swamiji, you are going the same flight? I want to sit near you. I said, okay, I'll come to you. No, you are a monk, I should come to you. Then I told the young man sitting there, I said, you go to Dr. Kalam's place, he wants to sit near me. Then Dr. Kalam said, Swamiji, in the morning, you told so many nice things about Swami Vivekananda. Please tell something more. He was so eager. Then I asked this question, why are you so eager to learn about Swami Vivekananda? Then he gave a beautiful reply. He said, Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda is a rare saint who converted religion into practical spirituality. Practical spirituality. That is the part. It is not Vedanta only, theory Vedanta. It is practical Vedanta. Serving humanity, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. So many projects. But they are not social work projects. They are also a part of our sadhana. They are a part of our service to humanity, is a part of our worship of God in man. It is worship of God in man. So this particular thing, this is a speciality. That is why we are calling it practical Vedanta. Vedanta has become practical. So Swami Vivekananda wrote a beautiful letter to Alasinga Perumal. This is why we choose this topic. On 17th February 1896, Swami Vivekananda wrote from New York to Alasinga Perumal. 17th February 1896. He was still in New York. 1897 he went there. He went back to India. The dry abstract Advaita, I am quoting, the dry abstract Advaita must become living, poetic in everyday life. And all this must be put in a form so that a child can grasp it. That is my life's work. Very difficult work. The child is there. You see, child has come only to prove that Vedanta, if he can understand, then all can understand. Very difficult part. So, what we are trying to convey this message. So, this practical Vedanta is really very much the need of the hour, because it gives solution to all the problems of the modern man, and we can practice this practical Vedanta in our everyday life.